Good afternoon. Today we'll be looking at stereotypes of the Asian American culture and how powerful they are, not only internally but also externally on the Asian Americans. The damaging stereotypes of the Asian Americans are defined in two ways: problem-free and model minorities. They are often seen as high achievers, but at the same time viewed as untrustworthy, deceitful, and treacherous. The model minority stereotype has arisen because Asian Americans were considered to be doing fairly well, showing a lot of success, going to college, even making a decent income. However, upon deeper examination of statistics, it was determined that, in fact, Asian Americans actually made less than their white counterparts in the same job. It also showed their household incomes were less than white Americans, and in fact, although many went to and graduate from college, their education did not get them as far or as much as their white counterparts. The positive aspects of being labeled the model minority is that there are high expectations. People may look at a young Asian American boy and assume he is going to be smart and obedient. Whereas that may not be true for other minorities in this country. With that stereotype and expectation, he may rise up and become something he would not have on his own without the push of the stereotype. In other words, it would not be so bad for an Asian American to live up to their stereotype of being smart, high achievers, and seeking of higher education. There certainly are more demoralizing stereotypes out there. On the other hand, there are many negative aspects of being considered the model minority. With the presumption that all Asian Americans are problem-free, there is an added pressure to be successful or perfect. There's a lot of stress in trying to achieve success, especially when English is not the primary language. To show weakness or to show signs of needing help could be misinterpreted as being unable to succeed. This could be why so many Asian Americans are unwilling to seek out help from non-Asians or others in general. Another negative aspect of being a model minority is the concept that all Asian Americans are created equal. Many Asian Americans are English language learners, and some may not be. Being an ELL makes communicating a difficult and sometimes daunting task, especially in higher education. When there is high expectations to be an overachiever, someone with a language barrier might have trouble reaching the expectation without help. The understanding of the stereotype that Asian Americans are seen as model minority is valuable for me as an educator. Often we see our Asian American families as supportive and helpful and wanting the best for their children. This may be true, however, there is a deeper understanding of the pressures that have in seeking this success. I believe that I have done my fair share of stereotyping the Asian American culture, especially students, by thinking that they are smart and well behaved with parents who push them at home. A common modern stereotype of the Asian Americans is that their parents are very strict and hold high expectations for their children. These expectations are played out with education, excelling in the classroom, being the best in the classroom. Another misunderstanding that I have been guilty of is that I also think of them as shy and obedient. When looking at the Asian American culture, I have often seen students just very quiet, very withdrawn, um, almost submissive in the classroom, and building a stereotype just based on that. The shyness I see might be an inability or unwillingness to discuss or display any signs of needing help. Even though they speak perfect English, it still may be their second language, or may not be spoken at home. They may not be able to communicate as well as I think without some ELL accommodations. It would be best to investigate further and get a little background on all of my students, not just the ones with obvious language barriers. This is where I have fallen guilty of several times in my career. So why do we as teachers model a behavior that can help make this situation of stereotyping Asian Americans non-existent? How would we go about that? That we are not guilty of this stereotype. One such way that I have come across in my career is the Socratic teaching method. It is an inquiry-based method that gives students questions, not answers. Students are able then to make up their own minds about a subject without the direction or input of the teacher, allowing more freedom for the students to be self-directed in their learning and in their education, and the teacher being more of a facilitator rather than asking their students to just regurgitate knowledge base. This is a great method in dealing with minority students because they are able to go at their own pace, and this is very important when you're dealing with a classroom of 30, maybe even 40 kids that all have different learning capacities and abilities, from hands-on to kinesthetic to book learning and so forth. Developing a deeper understanding of the subject, allowing students to dig deeper into a subject further than what a teacher might lecture to. Stereotypes of any kind have a tremendous effect on everyone, both internally and externally. The Asian American culture is a great example. So many times we're guilty of stereotyping the Asian American culture as being the intellectual, the smart, the driven, the highly educated culture, when in fact we're putting added pressure on them to achieve that, because that's what they see themselves as from the inside, as well from the pressures from the outside. To limit ourselves from finding out the truth about any culture only deepens the wounds between races and cultures. We must take the time to understand one another so that future generations can have what we never had: peace, trust, and understanding.